So thanks everyone. This is, I think a lot of you have seen this before, this idea of using data in a way to help manage and inform us on performance. Three important A's when it comes to data and using it. It needs to be accurate, which is what everyone's just been talking about. So that's thanks to you guys. It's thanks to a lot of tech teams as well, getting that data accurate. It needs to be accessible. And that's the big breakthrough really that we're talking about here. People need to be able to access this information. We've been using it behind the scenes, and I know officials have been accessing this for a couple of seasons. But now that level of accessibility is about to grow hugely, which is the exciting breakthrough here for us. And then it needs to be actionable. We need to be able to, it needs to be useful, which is really our job at EquiRatings, is to make this number useful and to tell us something that's important. And then that we can, we can use it. We can use it in some way as well. So I'm going to go through that very quickly. So what this HFI number is it's the same theme that we've been on the whole time. We want to look at the recent results of horses coming into a competition. We want to look not just at the positives, not just at the qualifications, the MERs, which is really telling us, do they have the minimum level of experience? We want to say, is the balance, is their form, the balance between positive and negative outcomes the same? So that a horse with 4 MERs at the level below from 4 runs is not necessarily the same as a horse with 4 MERs at the level below with maybe from 10 runs, with 6 results that didn't go well. So that's what this is looking at. And then the weighting system that we apply to it and where the intelligence comes in is to say that, of course, we've got to look at form in the context of a horse going to 5-star versus that same level of form if they were going to a 4-star or a 3-star. So a horse who's, okay, 50-50 at the 4-star level, that's okay if they're staying at the 4-star level or dropping back down to the 3-star level, it's probably more than okay. But if they were to step up to the 5-star, that wouldn't be so good. So we have one of these values for each level. Next slide, please. This is really what this number then tells us. Gaspar is going to go through the actual calculation, how we've simplified that to really, that's been the progress. I think if you ask anybody who's been successful at building a company, I think even training a horse, there's a huge skill to making something simple. You can get there, you can have something good, but you can go, God, it was really complicated to get there. It's not until you spend a couple of years really figuring out what's important to simplify it. That's what we have done now to make it easier for athletes and owners to follow and everyone to follow and understand. This is what it tells us. It's going to look like this idea. If you look to the right-hand side, you'll see that the HFI itself is a number. It can be below 0. That's what puts you into an E category for this number. It can get up as 4 or 5, which puts you almost into like an overqualified, a very well qualified category into sort of A+. That's how we've categorized that. But it will be a number basically ranging between 0 and 5. And you can see that if you are an E-rated horse, which there are sort of the bottom 5% generally of people in the sport will be in that rating. Even down at the 3-star levels, that's giving you about a 50% chance of jumping clear, which we want to bring this to people's attention so that we can start to think a little bit more intelligently and purposefully about our plans for our horses. Do we really want to be going to a competition where if we look at our past performance objectively, it's telling us that we haven't got a great chance of actually being successful at this. That's what we're trying to get people thinking about. At the higher levels, those numbers drop down even more. That E category is now at 4-star long, getting down to 40%, and at 5-star, it's down at 30%. So that chance of success really does become low. So again, we want to communicate this. I've been using this myself. I have a horse that I'm thinking about bringing to badminton. I can now calculate this value myself. I just look back at the past 8 results. And I can see that even though I think a lot of this horse, it was actually surprising to see that I should have this horse in the C category by the time we go with one more run. But currently he'd be in the D category. And that's just raising my awareness to go, yes, I think a lot of this horse, he's been to a European Championships and jumped clear, but not, it just made me think, actually not as experienced potentially as I was maybe thinking. I was going, you know, we're not going to ignore the feeling, but it just got me thinking a little bit more that actually going, this spring is important. Don't take that cross country for granted, even though you think he's a good cross country horse. Try and get yourself better prepared and push those ratings up. Next slide, please. So this is the language that the RMSG, the steering group, have helped us to frame, to get people, you know, converting numbers into English. And this idea that when you're getting into, particularly, I think that the D&E level, that people start to think, okay, my form is significantly low, or my form is still below average. I think that's the key one. I really think that D category is an area where we would really like people to start thinking. Obviously the E's, you know, we don't want people going there and trying to raise awareness there. But even I think when someone is on the fence about making a decision, as they often are, is this horse ready for the next level or not? They now have an objective tool to help them make the decision. I think we've talked in the past about trainers. It can be a difficult conversation when you're being employed by an athlete to give the advice. I know some trainers have no problems telling you that you're not ready for the level and you absolutely need to stay at the level below. But this is, because it's an objective rating and it's now accessible to riders, I think, you know, you can have trainers using it saying, well, you know, I think really you'd want to be at least at a C before you're thinking about stepping up to the next level. You know, your national form has been good, but hasn't quite come off for you in the international competitions. So let's just do one more. Let's just be extra qualified. And they could nearly use this rating as a benchmark to help them to have those difficult conversations. It's not personal. It's just a little bit more objective. Next slide, please. So this is the final slide. I hope everyone is impressed with how short I've kept it this time. But creating awareness of suitable performance. This is what we want to achieve now with where we are, because it's very much now, and I wouldn't underestimate how difficult it is to get to this place where riders and owners can now see this number and access this number. A lot of work has gone into making that possible. And I think now in the language that we're using, we would like this to become something that people start thinking about, not just saying, am I qualified, but what's my level of form? We have a horse form index. Have you looked at it? Have you seen what it's telling you about that level? You know, particularly up at that 5-star level, but at all levels to get people thinking about it, because some people actually will have a new objective. Then they won't just think, okay, I've been at 3-star for a while. It's a big jump to 4-star. But now that I'm qualified, and you know, maybe I should take the step. And they might just have a new objective which says, actually, I'm going to stay at 3-star and I'm going to try and improve my HFI. I really want to push myself up from a C category to a B or to an A, and to give them new objectives. So creating this awareness, providing decision-making support for NF. So we've always had this, we haven't always, for the last few years, we've had this available to officials at competitions. And definitely some of the feedback is it would be great to highlight this information to people actually further back in advance when we're approving applications, or when we know that people are thinking about competitions, to just try and steer them in the right direction. So that is now there, having this accessibility. Continue to support the officials with information. I think it makes those marginal calls and those gray areas can sometimes be easier when you just have another piece of evidence to back it up, and useful. You're looking at something, you're a little bit on the fence as to whether you let it pass or not, whether you need to step in and say something, even possibly not sanctioned, but even just sort of have that chat with somebody. I had them as a young rider growing up. When official says something to you, take it seriously. If you're thinking about, should I have this chat or not, and you have something that says, actually, what I'm seeing today has likely been happening in the past, because I have the access to this horse form index. So yes, I think it probably is appropriate that we have a conversation to just say, you know, what I saw there at fence 10 and 11, just be careful and try and get some help with that, and try not to repeat it. And then to develop understanding for future progress. That's for all of us. I have to say, as a rider, as an analyst myself, the last 6 years or so, looking at data, understanding the jumps between 3-star and 4-star, the difference between short format and long format. This is so beneficial, I think, for people to have access to information that is telling us more about performance and hopefully bringing us in the right direction, the direction that we're all trying to go in.